Hi guys, I finally get a chance to make this video about Pixlr. Okay, so I've used this before with my high school students. I've even used it with elementary students as well. This is free. It's a browser-based Photoshop knockoff, basically. And there's other ones like Photopea, but this is the one that I kind of gravitated towards. They have changed it a lot, so it kind of mimics now Photoshop CC. So there's Advanced Pixlr E or Playful Pixlr X. So I'm going to use Playful Pixlr X. You want to make sure that your school doesn't have this blocked by their firewall. Some of these free knockoffs, the countries of origins can be sometimes questionable. So a lot of times it won't allow the students to go to the URL. So make sure you do that before you actually attempt to use this with students. This is browser based. You do not have to install anything. So that means it runs in my Chrome browser. So that's great. Great if you're using Chromebooks. So this is a way to easily introduce graphic design, illustration. I would say not the greatest for illustration because the brush tool is not the greatest. Probably more for photo compositing and graphic design. So I'm going to left click on Playful Pixlr L. So like I said, it looks a lot like Photoshop CC. I can hit open image if I want to, but I'm going to go ahead and use one of these pre-provided images. Okay, everything's condensed. That's what I noticed, the biggest change. This used to be here along the top with the old version of Pixlr. You have your settings right here. If I click on those, settings are pretty good as is. Toolbar here, the navigator for zooming in and out, and then here are my layers I can add or go up and down my layers. Okay, so if I hover, just like Photoshop, you can now kind of see what that tool does, which is nice. So if I left click on that, this allows me to resize my image. Click on that and I can type in a value. Right now it's constrained, so it'll do it proportionally on these values. Hit apply. I'm going to hit undo. Okay, if I don't want it to be proportional, I can take this off, type in. See, it distorts it, so I don't really want to do that. Canvas size, so that happens a lot. Sometimes the image is too big. I can click on here and I can decide where it's pulling and kind of anchoring from that change. So do 800, hit apply, see. So then it leaves this much of that side. I'm going to hit undo again. I can flip and rotate, that's fine. Not sure what the background option is. Oh, for color. So if I click on that, I could fill it with whatever color. But I'm just going to leave it for the default white. That's fine. Okay, I can unlock and I can duplicate the layers. When I unlock it, it's going to give me kind of the same things that I had before, and I can rotate it. I can add a blend mode, which is great. So it's interesting. No longer is it over here. You were going to choose it over here. Actually, I think it was here at the top. For Pixlr, it was, I think, at the top menu bar. Photoshop, it's in the layers panel. So they have it built in to their arrange tool. Okay, so cropping, that's a big one. Okay, so the crop is a little weird. If I do this, you can't just double click on it. I had to go ahead and hit the save, but then it's going to ask me if I want to save it and download it. No, I don't. And then it actually accepts the crop. Oh, another thing is they said that Pixlr can accept a PSD file. Okay, so because this is browser based and you're relying on an internet connection, I tried to open one of my Photoshop files. So if it's a big file, it's really going to be challenging if you're at home. So if your students are at home, they're trying to open these files that they previously worked on at Photoshop, maybe at school, it's probably not going to work very well. This, as far as with PSD files, it's going to be based on your file size because your upload speeds are sometimes different than your download speeds. Usually I found my download speeds are faster at home than your upload speeds. So you'll get an error message and you may not be able to open the file. Okay. Moving on, if you want to mask something, they call it cutout. It's a pair of scissors and you have these tools up here, pretty easy. If I drag, it's going to just show up that rectangle here. I'm going to click undo. This is like your magic wand tool. See, I can filter that out. This is like your edit mask. You can change your brush size, softness, and I'm just going to left click and drag. Lasso tool. like it says, I can lasso around some pixels and it's going to remove them. Okay, tells me how much softness that selection will have. I'm going to leave it as is. You can invert it. You can extract it as a layer and it will duplicate here on the side. So see, it'll duplicate it and make another one. I'm going to undo that. It will also invert it, do the opposite, and I can reset right here. Okay, so let's talk about adjustments for color. So when I click on that, there's the auto fix, but you can adjust any of your vibrance, saturation, your temperature right here, so you can see how it's changing, and your tints, and scroll down for more, your curves and things like that. I'm not gonna, that's pretty self-explanatory. The next one I'm gonna go over is, so it's like your filters here, but they're really basic. So this one will always show up really dramatically. See, you can see. So it's like your Photoshop filters, your basic ones. See, pixelate. They have another option that kind of reminds me of Instagram right here. So if I click on effects, it will actually preview any of these built-in effects right here. Yeah, there's kind of neat. And then over here, we've got liquify. So if you want to go ahead and make it look all wavy, distorted, the edges, so like especially add more wrinkles on her shirt, I can do that. All right, and some of these are more distorty, and you can adjust the settings right here. Okay, so if I want to retouch something, here's my healing tool. So just like in Photoshop, if I left click over it, it's gonna merge those, kind of blend those two together. The clone tool, I left click once and then I left click again and it automatically picks that up. You've got sharpen and blur, super easy. I can just click between the two, I'll sharpen it up. Dodge and burn, same thing. Right now I have it set to lighten. I want to darken it, and I can adjust the settings for each one. All right, so this is your brush tool. Not really great for, you know, options here. I mean, if I wanted to go ahead and paint with any of these colors here, there's your color picker. I can eyedrop this color here, it changes it here, and then I can paint that in. You can change your sizes and stuff like that. That was the one thing about Pixlr. It's not like great for if you want to do digital illustration. My students always like Krita better, and that's a free program. Okay, let's talk about text. T for text. Okay, click on that. Automatically get text box. You can edit whatever you want it to say. You can pick a list of pre-installed fonts that they offer. Color as well. See, super easy, and size change, letter spacing, and all that. Here's some overlays, adding some options here. Oh, okay, so this is one of those premium features, so that's how they get you to pay. So, all right, now I can add an image, and I can go and click on that, add another image that I have, but I don't want to do that. And then let's talk about saving. Let's click the save. You can name it. It gives you the directory where it's being saved to. These are the file type options, quality, low, medium, high. This is currently the actual pixel size of it, and then I can click the download button. So if I hit download, it'll go into my downloads folder. It says ready in 3 seconds. All right, so that was a very quick and brief overview of Pixlr. It's fairly easy to use. I mean, it's a watered down version of Photoshop, but if you're kind of in that situation where you don't have a budget for Photoshop, or if you're in a situation where students have a Chromebook or they have an iPad and you want them to do some photo editing and they're in a situation where they're doing distance learning, this would be a pretty good one. I mean, it's It's not going to be full featured, but it is free. That's what I tell people. You know, it's like if you want to pay, if you want what Photoshop offers, then you're going to have to go and buy Photoshop. And Adobe was offering some things that if you already had a subscription and you switched to distance learning, they would go ahead and allow students to have access. What I found is if you don't already have some kind of one-to-one computer iPad situation, you don't know what they have at home. So you kind of have to base it on, well, what's going to work on their phone? This will work on their phone. Pixlr has an app for Android or iPhone you can use if they're relying on a phone from photos that they've taken. So if they don't have a desktop computer, or if they have a desktop computer, that's even better because it's way easier to use. I've used the phone app before with my students. Mixed reviews on that. I don't think they cared for it. I didn't really care for it either when I demoed it. So anyways, just something to consider. If you're on a limited budget or you're just not sure about what students have at home, Pixlr is not a bad option. It is what it is. It's a free. So, all right. Thanks for listening.